Welcome to Star Citizen on my YouTube channel. This is a no-nonsense quick-fire beginner guide where I'll walk you through the first few hours in the verse. The verse isn't always user-friendly and neither are all the players you meet along the way, but by the end of this guide you'll have a solid grasp of the basics, an upgraded kit, and be well on your way to purchasing your first in-game ship. As we proceed, I'll cover the basic keybinds you'll need daily, along with tips and advice on how to easily navigate everything in the verse. But first things first, before you even step foot in the universe of Star Citizen, you'll need to decide on your starter ship. If you haven't made an RSI account yet, use my referral code to get an extra 50,000 aUEC, which is in-game currency to start out with. You can use this code displayed on the screen, or the link or code listed in the description. So first, let's go over how you get a starter package. On the RSI website, you'll find both standalone ships and starter packages. It's crucial to understand that only starter packages grant you actual access to the Star Citizen game. Standalone ships by themselves are simply an addition to your hangar and are intended for players who already own a game package. To ensure you're getting the complete game experience, navigate to the pledge store in the top menu bar, then select game packages from the new menu that appears. All packages listed in this section will include both access to Star Citizen and the featured ship. Starter packages will typically cost around 40 to 45 USD and often include a ship like the Aurora or the Mustang Alpha, which provide the bare minimum features to get you rolling within the game. However, these base packages are often less than ideal, and I usually recommend spending a bit more to get a better initial experience with a ship that has more space and utility right out of the gate, and you don't need to break the bank in order to do this. In the current version of the game, you'll want a few key things out of a ship to make it a practical daily driver. The first thing you'll want is a cargo grid and some open space to store items on board the ship, as many missions and activities require moving items around the verse to complete them. You'll preferably want basic amenities like a bed for logging out, internal storage for gear and items you find along the way, and preferably more than one way in and out of the ship. And on top of this, you'll preferably want some decent firepower to handle at least PvE combat while traversing the verse. And finally, you'll want some room for vehicles. Having room for a Grey Cat Rock miner and other small vehicles is never a bad thing and can often be quite handy. The Grey Cat Rock is an early in-game ground vehicle used for mining, and it's important to note all the ships on this list can fit smaller vehicles like the Grey Cat PTV and hover bikes. You may still run into some issues with vehicles the size of the Rock or larger though. Another important consideration with some ships will be quantum fuel and hydrogen fuel. Quantum fuel powers your ship's quantum planetary jumps for long distance travel, and hydrogen fuel keeps your ship moving in atmosphere and for general navigation within space. Here are my recommendations for a more enjoyable initial experience in the verse. First up is the Avenger Titan. The Avenger Titan is the cargo variant of the Avenger series. It's one of the most versatile and well-rounded ships in the verse, and it's probably the best choice for a new player who wants to prioritize combat from the start. It's a jack of all trades with limited downsides, the main downside being limited cargo capacity. It includes 8 SU of cargo space on grid with little room to expand beyond that, but will still handle early cargo missions. Its handling and speed are its real advantages. It practically handles like a fighter while offering a bit more utility. It comes equipped with a great standard weapon loadout, making it capable of handling many combat-focused missions with relative ease for a starter ship. The Titan features 2 entrances, a cockpit hatch and a cargo bay door at the rear. The cockpit hatch is great for secure entry and exit, preventing other players from entering while doing so. The Avenger Titan includes a bed and standard internal storage, but lacks modern amenities like weapon racks and suit lockers available on newer options. The interior is very limited, but provides the bare essentials. The Avenger Titan is included in the Duelist Starter Pack, which normally runs around 75 USD. If ship-to-ship combat is your primary goal, the Avenger Titan is the starter ship for you. The Avenger Titan is also my top recommendation for a starter ship overall. The second option you should consider is the Drake Cutter. The Drake Cutter is the base variant of the Cutter series from Drake and Planetary and the lowest cost starter package on the list. The Cutter focuses primarily on exploration, offering greater fuel efficiency, range, and the lowest repair costs on the list. The Cutter features a limited 4 SU of cargo on grid, but you can fit around 10 SU in the base version by creatively placing boxes off grid. If available when you're watching this, I'd highly recommend going with the Drake Cutter Scout variant, as it has the largest cargo bay out of the variants, which then allows it to hold around 16 SU safely. Either of the Cutter variants can carry small vehicles like a hover quad, Nox, Pulse, STV, PTV, and the Mule. However, it will not fit a rock miner. It is important to note though, it's not a fighter, and it isn't ideal for combat situations. If you choose this ship, you'll be better off running away. Either Cutter variant and its starter package typically costs around 60 USD when not on sale. The most commonly available starter package is the Generalist Starter Pack, which includes the base Cutter and should always be available on the pledge store. So in summary, the Cutter and Cutter Scout are ideal for exploration and cargo hauling with excellent fuel efficiency and durability. It's not great for combat, but it shines in long distance journeys and early game tasks. My third recommendation is the Nomad. The Nomad from Consolidated Outland is the pickup truck of Star Citizen. It offers 24 SU of cargo via an external flatbed, more than any other ship on the list. and a unique feature, a pilot-controlled tractor beam. And on top of this, the Nomad's unique flatbed fits everything listed for the Cutter, plus the Rock Miner. The Nomad handles better than the Cutter but worse than the Titan, and it's capable of handling combat when necessary. The Nomad is unique within this list as it features entry via secure ladder, similar to the Titan, which makes the interior much safer in PvP situations. The Nomad also features a spacious hab with a bed, storage locker, kitchen, and seating. Its cockpit offers a wide 180-degree field of view as well, though some struts might bother some players. The Nomad is sold under the Advanced Hauler Starter Pack and normally costs 95 USD. This is the most flexible starter ship for players wanting a variety of activities with an emphasis on cargo running. The final ship I'll be discussing here briefly is the Drake Cutless Black. The Drake Cutless Black is renowned for its versatility, acting as a combat ship, a cargo hauler, and a light troop transport. It's a popular next step ship for many players willing to spend a little bit more money beyond a basic starter package. It includes 46 SU of cargo storage on grid, with the ability to at least double that if you go off grid and get creative. It can carry various ground vehicles including the Rock and the Mule. It also features improved weaponry over the previous ships, gun racks, 2 beds, internal storage, and a handful of other amenities. It's less agile than other ships on this list, and it does benefit from a second crewman who can man a turret or the onboard ship-mounted tractor beam. While it's versatile, it's not top tier in any single role. The Drake Cutless is sold in the Privateer Starter Package, which normally sells for 125 USD. Overall, the Cutless Black is a fantastic all-around ship that opens up many gameplay loops, especially rock mining and joint missions with friends. It's often the first major in-game purchase for new players looking to expand their capabilities from a base starter package. In Star Citizen, higher ship cost doesn't always equal more power or advantage. More expensive ships are often specialized and may lack many features or require more crew to operate effectively or safely. Your personal skill often determines survival and success more times than not. I've seen pilots and starter ships take out larger, more expensive ships many times over. And it's also important to note that no matter what ship you choose, you can upgrade to a ship of higher value by paying the difference via CCU upgrades, otherwise known as cross-chassis upgrades. These essentially let you upgrade a ship of your choice into another ship of greater value. These are accessed via the pledge store like last time, but instead of clicking game packages, you simply click other, and then select ship upgrades, and from here you'll select one of your currently owned ships in the leftmost box, and then select a ship you want to upgrade to in the rightmost box. You can only upgrade to ships currently available on the RSI website using this feature, so if you want a more limited ship or a variant, it could very well become a waiting game. Now let's get you in game. Click the RSI logo button in the top left corner of the screen, which will then take you back to the RSI homepage, and then click the blue download button in the top right corner of the screen. Once you land on this new page, click the download button near the top as shown. Once you've logged into the client and download the full game, which should be just a little over 100 gigs, go ahead and launch the game for the first time. Once you land on the main menu, it should include 2 primary options. The first option is the Persistent Universe. This is the main MMORPG part of the game you'll likely spend the majority of your time playing. And the second option is Arena Commander, which allows you to practice combat, check out new ships, weapons, and gear in a safe environment, or even practice flying without the penalty of dying, while also skipping traversal times around landing zones and stations. For now, go ahead and select Persistent Universe for your first session to proceed with the tutorial. From here, you'll be prompted to create your character. Once you're happy with the results, go ahead and save it and we'll move on. After locking in your character, you'll get a tutorial message, simply confirming if you want to proceed with the tutorial, say yes. If by some chance you're not asked about the tutorial, you might have already tried Star Citizen at some point recently. If so, you can still follow this guide to learn the basics. At this point, you might be wondering, why do I need a guide if there's an in-game tutorial? The in-game tutorial currently isn't in the best state, however it still offers some benefits. Primarily in-game guidance around starter areas, hotkey tips, unique curated learning opportunities you otherwise don't get, and 45,000 in-game credits upon completion of the tutorial, and that's on top of the 50,000 credits if you use my referral code for the bonus. Effectively, this guide is designed to supplement the in-game tutorial, filling in missing pieces and adding useful information. It aligns with the steps that the in-game tutorial requires you to complete. For easier use, I'd recommend keeping this guide open on a second monitor, phone, or tablet so you can follow along as you play. After character creation is complete and you've opted into the tutorial, it's time to choose your starting location. Currently, the game has 2 star systems, Stanton and Pyro. As a new player, you're likely going to want to lock yourself into Stanton. This is where you'll want to start, as Pyro is an open PvP area that will make learning the game much more difficult and frustrating. Within Stanton, you'll have 4 main cities or landing zones you can start at. The first is Area 18, a planet completely covered by cities located in ArcCorp. Lorville, a Blade Runner-esque industrially focused dystopian city on Hurston. New Babbage, a city that feels inspired by Apple's design language, located on the snowy planet of Microtech. Or finally Orison, Star Citizen city in the clouds, located in the Crusader gas giant's atmosphere. Personally, I recommend Lorville as it's central to the entirety of Stanton, allowing you to easily travel to any other planet within the Stanton system relatively quickly. It also provides access to most things you'll need relatively close to your starter location. For this guide, select Lorville and hit the Play Game button, and then finally Confirm, which will then launch you into the persistent universe. Once you get past the game's only load screen, you'll wake up in the hab near the center of Lorville. To get out of bed, simply press Y. Once you stand up, go ahead and hit F1 to bring up your Mobiglass. This is Star Citizen's equivalent to a smartphone, which you'll use often. Let's go over its functions. First, let's cover the ones you'll use most. By hitting F1, you enter it into the home screen. This screen will show notifications, recent missions, crime status, a remote ship view, atmospheric conditions, some health and injury information, and much more. Then you have the Comms app. This will give you access to global chat, server player list, friends invites, party management, and local VoIP chat. Next, you have the Contracts app, where you'll find the starter guide mission along with other mission options. In very simple terms, this is where you'll manage all of the missions you pick up. Next, you have the Reputation tab, which shows your standing with different factions. This allows you to track what factions are hostile or friendly, and can have an impact on available contracts and access to services throughout the verse. Most importantly and commonly, you can track your standing with factions provide contracts, and see what rank you're at and what you will get for reaching the next rank. Normally, this will just be new and more complex contracts. The next is the Wallet app. This allows you to send money to friends and party members. It's basically Star Citizen's equivalent to Cash App. Then you have the Landing app, which is used to trigger repair, rearming, or refueling while your ship is landed on a landing pad at a major landing zone, station, distribution center, or outpost. And finally, you have the Vehicle Loadout Manager. This is where you'll be changing your ship's components and weapons. Initially, you won't likely mess with this much, but once you have some money, this will become something you use often. Now, let's go over the Map app, which is probably the most important app in the Mobiglass, as it's how you traverse the verse. If you haven't already, go ahead and open it. And when you do, you're first going to see a 3D representation of your immediate area. So let's go ahead and try some controls. You can hold left click to rotate the camera. You can use the scroll wheel to zoom in and out. And then hold right click to pan the camera. And specifically for interior maps like the one you're seeing, you can place markers by pressing T, or hover your cursor over a location and press R to generate a path. Any markers or paths that you create will appear on your character's HUD map as well. You can hit the 2 key to recenter the map around your character, or press the Z button for a clearer cross-section view. One cool thing you'll notice here initially is that the map in this game is seamless. You can zoom out with the scroll wheel to see the entire universe. This includes planetary views with outposts, the local system map, and even the Stanton and Pyro systems. Every map is seamlessly tied together, letting you go from ground location to full system view within seconds. In the top left, you'll also see a search function that allows you to quickly find specific locations, and any active missions that you pick up will show shortcuts in the top right of the map screen under what's currently labeled the No Accepted Contracts section. If you simply left-click these provided locations, the map system will automatically set up your pathing normally, preventing you from having to manually search for the location. And before we move on, I just want to go over the less frequently used tabs. The first is the Health app. This practically shows if your character has any injuries or negative status ailments. You won't be using this one very often, as your home screen provides much of this information as well. Next is the Journal app. It organizes and stores information relevant to the game's lore and mechanics, as well as missions, community events, and many other things along the way. And finally, the Assets app. This should be handy, and it allows you to check your local inventory at any location within the verse, but be warned, however, as of recent patches, this app has not worked reliably. In the meantime, you'll just have to manually keep track of where you leave things. You should now have a basic understanding of how to navigate the Mobiglass and what each part does. Now, if you haven't already, go ahead and look around the room. You should see a few items sitting on top of furniture, namely a gray box and some food and drink items. From here, go ahead and approach the gray box on the counter, and we'll go over a few things. First off, that gray box holds your first space helmet, and that gray box is a common physicalized representation of gear around the verse you'll be seeing often. Helmets are very important as not every location has oxygen, and currently bugs can even cause interiors and other locations with the atmosphere to suffocate you regardless. You will want to keep a helmet on the majority of the time unless you're eating or drinking. But from here, go ahead and grab the box by approaching it until you see a prompt appear. Once you do, press and hold the F key to bring up the inner thought menu for the item, which gives you a variety of options that are self-explanatory. For now, simply select Equip. From here, go ahead and hit the I key to bring up your inventory screen. If it equipped properly, it should be on your character's head. But for now, so long as it's equipped, go ahead and back out of inventory, and let's go ahead and try this key combo. Go ahead and hit left Alt H to quickly equip or stow your helmet onto your character's hip. This doesn't put the item into your character's normal inventory, it equips it to a special slot for easy removal of your helmet on the fly. Go ahead and play around with this, but when you're done, leave your helmet off for the moment. Now move down right past the coffee maker and you'll see a burrito and a drink bottle on the table. Star Citizen currently has some simple survival mechanics they intend to expand upon in the future. Currently, you simply need to eat and drink occasionally to avoid negative effects and eventually untimely death, which will result in you being sent back to your home location or your selected medical bed. Your thirst is presented by this icon and percentage listed next to it. The same is true for hunger as shown on the screen. These should normally be found in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen as you begin reaching lower levels. I highly recommend keeping Cruise Lux on you. This drink fills both your thirst and your hunger. To drink from this bottle or any other bottle around the verse, you can approach it and hold F to enter inner thought, just like you did with the helmet a moment ago, and then select carry this time. Alternatively, you can simply tap F once you approach the item. Once you have the bottle in your hand, you can left click to drink. You can also right click to put it away halfway. To eat the torpedo burrito in front of you or any other food items, you can practically do the same thing as drinking. Either way, once you're done, use Alt H to re-equip your helmet. Be aware, however, in most cases you have to buy food or drinks before you can consume them. These can be purchased at various stores or restaurants around the verse as mentioned. If you ever have issues grabbing a drink or food item from your character's inventory, simply try dropping them on the ground by dragging the drink below your character on the icon emphasized here. Then pick it up again using the F key and proceed normally from there. This is a common workaround for inventory bugs that can flare up from time to time. Once you've completed everything I've described, simply step out into the hall by pressing F on the small screen where a doorknob or handle would normally be. This is generally how you'll be interacting with doors. Once you leave the hab, feel free to use the hall outside to get a feel for the controls. It's a secured zone and safe. You can use the scroll wheel to change the walking speed of your character, or hold shift to sprint. From here though, go ahead and make your way to the elevator using the waypoints the game's providing. Once you reach it, use F to open the elevator, and then select a lobby. The built-in tutorial will guide you using yellow chevrons to various locations from here on out. Your first stop from here is a map on the wall in an open area that gives you a great look at the Lorville skyline. While your mini-map is more useful, this is a good opportunity to get used to using environmental clues for navigation, as Star Citizen often doesn't always hold your hand or give all the information you need directly in the Mobiglass. The tutorial at this point should take you to Tamani & Sons after having you walk through a few points using yellow chevrons. Star Citizen's shops have two ways to purchase items, and this store is no different. One is to simply use a kiosk in the store, or in some cases you can buy items right off the store's shelves and counters. To buy items directly off the counter or another environmental element, you approach and focus your view on the item. Once the prompt appears, simply hold or press the F key. Some items require you to do one or the other, but most will accept either. Generally speaking though, you're going to be using the kiosk to make purchases instead. To do this, simply step up to the kiosk and press the F key to begin using it. You'll see your name and money in the upper right. If you follow the guide, you should have at least 15,000 aUEC. In the top left, you're going to see some drop-down options. These allow you to filter what options appear within the menu and allows you to choose where you send your purchases. For the moment, make sure the destination is set to Lorville. Alternatively, in the future, you can set it to your personal inventory containers tied to your armor and gear, or personal store all containers that you can stuff various items into, and then load them onto your ship. Right next to the drop-down menus, you're going to see a search function. It works exactly as you imagine. Type in one of the words in the item's title and it'll be brought right up. Now though, let's go ahead and get you some gear to get you ready to step out into the verse. Unfortunately, Hurston, in line with its lore, does not sell weapons, but we will get some armor and equipment at Tamani & Sons and move on. The first thing I'm going to have you grab is some basic armor, as well as a backpack. These are critical for carrying loot, items, and surviving any combat you may run into. Go ahead and search for ORC-MKX. This will bring up the gear sets under this branding. To purchase any of these items, simply hit the quick buy button below the item. This will buy one of that item. I use this function most commonly when buying armor. Grab whichever color variant of the armor you prefer. You will want to grab one arm, one core, and one leg set. And then finally, be sure to grab the backpack in whatever color you prefer. After you've completed this, go ahead and buy some med pins. To do this, simply search for med pin like last time. But when you buy the item this time, just left click on the med pin and go over to the bottom right corner of the screen and select buy. This will present you with a new screen. At the bottom, you'll see an option to either type in a value or increase or drop the value in intervals. Go ahead and select to buy 3 of them and then hit the buy button. From here, you should get a transaction complete screen. You will want to also go ahead and buy a multi-tool. This is another essential tool for various gameplay loops around the game, most commonly used as a tractor beam for moving boxes. To buy this, search Pyro at the terminal. It's important to note that the Pyro Right multi-tool accepts several attachments to change its functions on the fly. It can be a tractor beam, a medical gun, salvage tool, or a mining tool by changing out swappable modules. But for now, you're just going to need a tractor beam module. Search for True Hold, and buy the True Hold tractor beam attachment that appears. We'll equip everything here in a moment. As you set your inventory in the kiosk to Lorville, everything went to the local inventory for that location. I advise you to do this as the local inventory at any location in the verse provides far more storage space and is generally more reliable and secure than your personal inventory. The downside, however, is you can only access this inventory while physically at Lorville. Your personal inventory space in Star Citizen depends on your equipped armor and backpack. Light armor offers less space, while medium or heavy armor and larger backpacks to match provide more. However, if you die outside the main landing zone, you'll lose any items stored within your backpack or armor inventory. However, anything directly equipped to your character's slots will be kept. This includes your armor, backpack itself, weapons, tools, ammo, and medical pins. Essentially, anything you've attached directly to your character via that inventory screen. And, however, return to the location that you died to attempt to recover these items, but the items can be looted by any other players who happen upon the body in the meantime. Now let's get you loaded up the items you just bought. In order to do this, you'll need to access a local inventory kiosk. The closest instance of one of these is right outside of Tammany & Sons. Once you locate them, simply press the F key as per usual to access it. Once you enter it, you'll see a menu with your character in the center, a local inventory on the right, and a personal inventory with your armor and backpack on the left. To equip items on the screen, simply drag and drop items onto your character where circular marks appear, or double-click the gear in question. You do have to have an undersuit on to equip armor, and armor on to equip backpacks. And you can only equip backpacks of the same weight class or less to your armor. So for example, light armor can only fit a light backpack, but heavy armor can be fitted with any of the backpacks. Before leaving, make sure you equip all the armor you just purchased as well as the backpack and multi-tool. The tractor beam attachment can only be equipped to the multi-tool after the multi-tool is equipped to your character. Don't leave it behind. It's also important to note before we proceed, whenever you die, you'll initially return to the hospital at your home location. In this case, Lorville has the Maria Pure of Heart Medical Facility. Star Citizen features medical facilities at major landing zones and stations across the verse. You can use these to set your respawn point and heal injuries sustained in combat. Medical facilities are tiered from Tier 3 to Tier 1, with Tier 1 injuries being the most severe. Some ships will also have these medical facilities as well. Tier 3 and Tier 2 medbeds are the most common on them. Tier 1 medbeds are reserved for very large ships like the Everus, or specialized crafts such as the upcoming Apollo medevac. While you can buy a specialized medgun at medical facilities for on-the-go healing, it's often not recommended for new players due to its high cost and complexity. Even many seasoned players opt to skip the medgun entirely, preferring the more reliable and straightforward healing offered by a ship's medbed and the abundant med pens found around the verse, the vast majority of which are free if you just collect them off enemies you find along the way. It's now time to head to the Spaceport and eventually your hangar. You should have those yellow chevrons leading you to the tram system if you completed the necessary steps. If not, complete whatever steps you haven't until you reach the tram. Every city has a physical transit system that takes you to points of interest around the location. You'll need to wait for the next train if you miss one, but they are frequent unless you run into a bug. There should be a physical timer above the entrance to the tram you can use to judge this, and it'll tell you an approximate time before it arrives. Once it arrives, simply step on board. The train will move in real time across fixed paths around the city of Lorville. If by chance you want more information about the layout, you can look at the map at the end of the station area labeled Hurston Rapid Transport. This will show you the general layout of all the routes within the city. Once you arrive at the Spaceport, follow the signs to the customs area and pass through customs and keep moving forward. You'll be greeted by Terminal 5 and a lobby with a large window where you can see all the players coming and going from hangars outside of it. This is one of those moments that's possible due to how CIG has developed the game to be complete in scale, with everything being part of the same immersive world. Once you're done enjoying the view, follow the waypoint markers to the Automated Ship Organization Program terminals, otherwise known as ASOPs. Simply tap F to enter the kiosk as per usual. And whenever you're pulling a ship for the first time, first you'll need to click the Deliver button, which will bring the ship to your location. Then that button should be replaced with a Retrieve button. Go ahead and click that as well. If you're utilizing this guide in partnership with the tutorial, as I advised, the game will force you to pull up an Anvil Pisces C8, and you'll get access to your actual ship later. Once you have confirmation that your ship is in your hangar, go to the elevators in the local area that will take you down to your personal instanced hangar. Go ahead and enter one of them and use the screen inside to select your hangar. Simply scroll down until you see your player name and then select it. So long as everything goes according to plan, the door should open here momentarily, and welcome to your personal hangar. This is effectively your new home location. Whatever you leave in this hangar, that includes weapons, furniture, and vehicles, will be saved for your next login. So in the future, if you feel like coming back and going to Tammany & Sons and decorating the space, or placing any items you find around the verse within the hangar, you can, and it'll persist at least until the next major patch cycle. Most of the time, however, you won't lose these items. They will simply be stored again at your selected home location. Take a brief moment to look around the hangar. You should see a few different things. Each hangar is equipped with a personal kiosk for inventory access, an ASOP terminal for pulling ships while you're already here, a cargo lift for storing or retrieving larger items like ship components, weapons, or cargo boxes. There is also a medical area that you can drop off injured or incapped players to take them to the hospital quickly. I find this particularly useful if a player has a limp. Simply knock them out with melee attacks and then drag them to the medical area with the tractor beam. All you have to do once they're in there is hit the button on the outside and they'll go straight to the hospital. At this point, in the center of the room, you should see your Anvil Pisces C8. This is a tutorial ship, not the one you bought. You'll get your real ship once you reach the space station. Take some time to look over the Pisces. Even a small ship like this is highly detailed. In order to enter the Pisces, you'll need to step to the back of the ship and click the small control panel next to the ramp to open it. You can enter the cockpit through this space. From here, we're effectively leaving Lorville. Remember to be extremely cautious once you leave. When you die in Star Citizen, your physical items in your backpack and armor will be lost as mentioned, unless you're in a safe zone, which you will now be leaving, until you reach the station. Simply head towards the front of the ship and enter the Pisces flight seat. Once seated, press U and I. U will turn on the power to the ship's systems, and then I turns on the ship's engines. Now that your ship is powered on, let's explore its systems to help you avoid crashing. It's important to remember while the ship's interiors vary, they all present the same crucial information, just in slightly different ways. I'll show you some visual examples of on-screen labels in a moment. Do, however, note that some information will only appear once your ship enters atmosphere. In the upper left of your screen, you're going to see your ship status. This shows the status of your shields, weapon gimbal state, gun group settings, and hardpoint ammo counts at the very bottom. At the very top of your screen, you're going to have the heading indicator. Below the heading indicator is the horizon and inclination indicators, and to the right of those, you're going to have your altitude indicator. On your ship's dashboard, you should see a velocity meter on the left and an afterburner meter on the right. To the right of the afterburner bar should be a decoy and noise counter, which shows you how many countermeasures from missiles and torps you have left. The velocity meter shows your current speed of travel in meters per second. And to the left of this, you should see your ship's current operating mode. More on this later. In the center of your dash, you should see some form of radar that displays ships and other objects in a circular radius around your ship. Once you're accustomed to reading it, it'll give you a greater sense of 3D space around your ship. And don't worry, this is a lot to take in, you'll learn over time, and this is just an overview to give you a basic understanding. It'll make way more sense once you start playing more. Next, we'll go over MFDs, or otherwise known as multi-function displays. Every ship has a varying number of these screens, which allows you to manage your ship's systems on the fly, or display important information directly on your ship's HUD. The best part, these are fully customizable, so you can set them up to show whatever information you need for specific tasks at hand. MFDs have several screens they can be set to. I'm going to go over the most important of these in this guide. The first one we're going to go over is weapon config. This screen lets you set your weapon hardpoints on your ship to groups based on a number value that you assign. Once you assign the groups, you can switch between them on the fly using the mouse wheel while in flight. The next screen is target status. This shows the status of any player or NPC ship you target. The next is scanning configuration. This shows the results and details of any ship you scan. The communication screen allows you to contact landing zones for takeoff and landing, as well as hail other players around the verse. The power management screen allows you to modify how power is distributed across various components of your ship for faster recharge rates on specific systems or other beneficial effects. And finally, the configuration screen, which is essentially a settings menu for your ship and ship HUD, allowing you to customize it further. Most of this is not necessary, but some of it can be useful or preferred once you get deeper into the game. What's most noteworthy here is the advanced HUD, which is the most important option you can toggle here besides functions you can toggle with keybinds normally. Now let's move on to power. As mentioned briefly while discussing MFDs, Star Citizen allows you to allocate power points determined by your ship's components to different systems, so namely engines, shields, weapons, but you can't power everything fully simultaneously, so you'll need to prioritize where power goes based on the situation and what it demands. For now, during the tutorial, keep engines and shields powered and everything else default. Now you should be ready to fly, but first you'll need to go ahead and request departure. You'll either need to set one of your MFDs to communications and then call the ATC, aka Air Traffic Control, for your specific location for permission to depart. Alternatively, and what I typically use is to simply press Alt plus N. Either one should work. Now for a basic breakdown of flight controls. Pressing spacebar will make you move up and allow you to clear the hangar doors, and then press W to move forward. Moving your mouse will adjust your pitch or yaw, so allow you to move up, down, left, and right. While Q and E will roll the ship. And finally, holding the control button down will move the ship downward. Once you're out of the hangar, you'll want to bring up your landing gear as it limits your speed to about 30 meters per second. Go ahead and hit N to retract them into your ship for much faster travel. Once you get some clearance between you and the city following the markers that provided, go ahead and try using Shift to activate the afterburners. From here, just follow the markers provided and enjoy the beautiful view of the clouds as you fly. Fun fact, the clouds actually move and storms can form. One thing you might have noticed while you begun flying is a small circle with 3 lines on it. This is the velocity vector indicator showing your actual direction of travel. Star Citizen has a 6-degree freedom of flight model, meaning your ship can move independently of where your nose is pointing. This is something you'll get more of a feel for and get used to as you progress through the game. Don't worry about it too much, but it's just important to know for the future. But from here, let's talk about something a little bit more critical, SCM and nav modes. In Star Citizen, you have 2 modes for navigating around the verse under the new Master Mode system. The first is SCM mode, or Space Combat Maneuvering mode. This gives you reduced speed, but gives you access to weapons, countermeasures, and shields, while the alternative is Nav mode, aka Navigational mode. This allows you to use your quantum drive for interplanetary travel, as well as traveling at higher speeds. This does, however, come at the cost of disabling weapons, shields, and countermeasures. By default, upon leaving your hangar, you should have been in SCM mode. Go ahead and try holding B to activate Nav mode. Your ship will fly much faster, allowing you to reach the tutorial's checkpoints much more quickly. And while you're doing all of this, if you want to soak in the sights of everything around you, hit F4 for a third-person view, hold Z to rotate the camera. There are more controls for your camera, but I'm not going to go into them extensively here. Let's go over quantum travel here for a moment. Your quantum drive is how you travel between planetary bodies and space stations over great distances. In order to do this, as mentioned, you do have to be in nav mode, however. The tutorial will come to a moment where it requires you to make a jump. In order to do this, just look at the desired destination icon that the tutorial provided. Once you align your cursor with the location, you should start to see your drive begin to calibrate and spool. Progress with these steps are represented by 2 meters, one on either side of your center of view. Once both are ready, you'll get a ready notification in a green box just above them. Left click to quantum jump at this point. You won't arrive directly at the location you jumped to, in this case a station, but instead within a set radius around that location. You'll need to fly a short distance to reach it still. Now that you're in space, don't worry, you won't be in combat now unless someone shoots at you. Even then, just move on, you should be fine, as you're going to be near a station. But I do want to go over the basics before proceeding here. Within the game, you have 2 weapon types, energy weapons and ballistic weapons. Energy weapons are going to be the ones you use most commonly, as they have limited shots as they deplete your ship's capacitors. However, they recharge over time and never run out of ammo completely. On top of this, putting more power into weapons increases the capacitor size for more shots and causes them to charge back up faster. Meanwhile, ballistic weapons are not limited by power, but by cooling instead, and have a fixed amount of ammo that requires resupply at a station or another landing pad. It does, however, have the added benefit of it can penetrate shields more effectively and hit the hull, disabling systems and dealing more damage directly. When it comes to ballistic-based weapons, you are going to have to use them more sparingly. And even if you do that, you may still run out of ammo from time to time, putting you in bad situations. You're going to have a third option for dealing damage typically, and that's missiles. These require a target lock to fire. They are also very expensive in the current game and can quickly result in you losing money. So if you're going to use them sparingly. You also do not want to target anything in missile mode you don't intend to actually shoot. Targeting a player or a station in this mode is an act of aggression, and it will make you hostile to them, resulting in you being fired upon. In order to use any of these though, you'll need to understand operator modes within the SCM mode. Operator modes allow you to customize your cockpit dashboard and unlock specific functions of your ship, tailoring your ship's HUD to a particular function. In order to cycle through them, you simply click your mouse scroll wheel. There are currently 5 operator modes: guns, missiles, scanning, mining, and salvage operator modes. Most ships, however, will only have the first 3. This guide will only be explaining those. The guns operator mode is the default SCM combat mode. When it's active, there's an icon consisting of several bullets to the left of your velocity meter. This essentially lets you use your standard hardpoints on your ship. The next is missile operator mode. When you switch to this operator mode, you'll be able to target ships with missiles or torpedoes. It's represented by an icon of a small missile next to the velocity meter. It's essentially designed to streamline the process of selecting, arming, and launching missiles. Once the new reticle stops moving, simply left click to fire. You can also select the number of missiles fired per click by tapping the G key. The number selected will be shown in the left corner of your screen with the rest of your ship's information. The final mode we'll be covering today is the Scanning Operator mode. This mode activates your ship's detailed scanning capabilities while keeping you in SCM's lower speed and combat ready state. It's represented by a tiny icon of a radar to the left of your velocity meter. To use it is relatively simple. Simply place your main cursor over a ship in range, then press and hold left click. You will know you're in range when you start to see a series of small boxes start cycling in the new HUD that was now presented to you. These will continue to cycle until they're eventually replaced with a small box with the text scanned, which is simply confirming that the scan is completed. The information captured about the ship you scan will be dropped into your scanning MFD screen. From here, I'm going to briefly talk about standard targeting. All you have to do is hit T to target whatever is directly in front of you to begin dealing damage with missiles or hardpoints. If for whatever reason you need to untarget something, hit Alt plus T. It is important to note, however, that targeting is affected by distance as well as stealth components. If someone is too far away or running heavy stealth components, your sensors might not pick them up or allow you to target them until you get closer. You can also do a light scan, often called a ping, to reveal ships and other things near you, which can make finding and locking targets easier. Also, in regards to pings, they can be used to see obstacles in the dark or within clouds, or even to locate mineable materials or points of interest. The most important thing about targeting is it provides pips, small circles on your HUD showing where to shoot to hit a moving target. So what do you do if you have missiles shot at you? If you happen to run into this, the simple explanation is you need to hit H to deploy decoys, which are distractions from missiles effectively. Be warned, these will impact different types of missiles in different ways, but this is something that's beyond the scope of this guide. You can also hit J to deploy a noise countermeasure, which temporarily disrupts enemy targeting. So if you fire off one of these before they can fire the missile, it'll break the lock, allowing you to escape. Now let's talk about death states. In Star Citizen, your ship typically enters a disabled state, aka soft death, rather than immediately exploding, unless someone death blows you. A hard death, on the other hand, means your ship is completely destroyed. If you happen to find yourself in a situation where your ship is disabled into soft death, it's best to act fast. You either eject or physically exit the ship, as it might still explode or be boarded. Alternatively, if you press backspace, it will kill your character, returning you to your spawn point. This is often advisable because if you're incapacitated on a disabled ship, your character remains lootable in a lot of cases. While allies can revive you in a down state, solo players are generally better off using backspace. In the future, this would be a good thing to revisit once you're more confident with space combat, but for now, let's get back into the in-game tutorial. At this point, you should be outside of Port Olisar and getting ready to land. If you're still a good ways out from the station, go ahead and return to nav mode if you've left it, and aim slightly to the side of the station for safety. As you draw near, swap to SCM mode by holding B. Once you've slowed down and are near the station, request landing permission from Everus Harbor, which practically works the same as getting takeoff permission. Either hit Alt-N or go into your communications screen and hail the station. You'll receive a notification on the screen assigning you a hangar. Simply follow the marker on the HUD. Once you've located your hangar and you're ready to enter it, I recommend being in SCM mode with your landing gear extended. If you do what I just described though, it should make it relatively easy. Once you're landed, turn off your engines by pressing the I key to prevent fuel expenditure and accidental movement. Your ship systems like shields remain online, however. Then press Y to leave your seat, and practically exit the same way you got in. The hangar you now find yourself in will be very similar to your personal hangar. Head to the elevator and then to the ASOP terminals in the lobby. Once you reach the ASOP terminals, store your ship. At this point, you need to go into your Mobiglass and check your journal to complete the full in-game tutorial. All you need to do is open all of the journal entries that were added. Congratulations, citizen. The tutorial is completed, but my guide continues. You should now have at minimum 40,000 aUEC. If you use my referral code, as previously mentioned, you should get an additional 50,000 aUEC. However, use it wisely, as dying as a new player is common. So you may be asking yourself, what now? First, I would advise setting your spawn location to Everus Harbor. Traversing stations is currently much faster than any major city in the game. In the future, anytime you relocate to a new location and intend to stick around, go ahead and set yourself to the nearest station. In order to do this, head to the clinic and find the Olympus insurance terminals, which should be across from the pharmacy. Here you can set your new spawn point to the station. From here, there's two main areas you're going to typically visit within a station. The first of these is the cargo deck. To access this, go to the elevators near the clinic. On this floor, you can buy hauling essentials like extra store-all cargo boxes, multi-tools, or max lift tractor beams. They sell some armor and various other gear as well. After you've had a look around the cargo deck, go ahead and head back to the elevator and head to the Galleria. This section is effectively a mall. It offers various shops with various different supplies available. I'd recommend picking up a Gallant rifle as your primary weapon for combat, and don't forget spare rifle batteries. Feel free to explore these areas at your leisure, then return to the ASOP terminals in the lobby when you're ready. Well, it's finally time. We're going to go ahead and actually pull your starter package ship. Go to the ASOP terminals in the station, retrieve your vessel just like the Pisces C8 using the ASOP terminal, and head down to your hangar. In order to enter your ship, it'll be dependent on which one you selected. You'll need to look for either a control panel, just like those seen on the elevators, or an F key prompt near the cockpit or ramp. And just so you're aware, before we move forward, if you lose your ship, you can always get it back with insurance. Currently, the insurance system in-game is very simple. You can reclaim nearly any ship for free, but you'll have a longer wait, or pay an expedited fee to get it back in a drastically reduced time frame. In regards to starter ships, they usually return instantly within a minute or two, which is why longtime players tend to keep a starter ship around, even if they own larger ships. Before we wrap up this guide by heading to the lawless system of Pyro, let's cover earning money for upgrades and supplies. Missions are my recommendation as they provide structure for new players. And as mentioned earlier, you access these through the Mobiglass's contract manager. There's more options than what I'll cover, but I'm going to focus on the early moneymakers. The first one we're going to discuss is bounty hunting missions. Essentially in these you hunt NPCs or players. Lucrative, it requires ships like the Avenger Titan, Nomad, or Cutless Black for sufficient firepower, and some of these will have you leaving your ship to do FPS combat. The next would be mercenary missions. They're hired gun jobs with guaranteed FPS combat, usually tasking you with clearing out a location. The next option is hauling missions. These essentially task you with shipping provided cargo between locations with no upfront investment. And finally, priority missions. These are event-based, but highly lucrative, but rotate frequently and often require combat. They may or may not be soloable for new players. But given how lucrative they can be, I'd recommend giving them a shot. Worst case, you can't complete them and you move on. While navigating the Contracts app, you may have noticed there's a verified toggle at the top of the screen. If you toggle this, you'll see the illegal unverified missions. These missions do pay better, but you risk getting a crime stat, prison time, and player bounties. Avoid them if you want to stay out of trouble. Just getting started, I'd honestly recommend the hauling missions out of all of these. They avoid immediate combat, teach you navigation, and allow looting. Tiny hauling missions pay around 50,000 aUEC each. These can be especially profitable if you stack contracts with the same delivery location and have the space to store the cargo. The previously discussed Nomad and Cutless Black are your best options for this. Go ahead and grab that first starter contract under the hauling tab within your Contracts app for your Mobiglass. We're going to go over the basic steps for completing it. Once you have it, go to the cargo elevator terminal, then send the elevator down if it isn't already, and then from here use the kiosk to drag mission cargo boxes from your local inventory at this location on the right side of the kiosk to the elevator lift on the left side of the kiosk. Then send the elevator back up, take the boxes and load them onto your ship using a tractor beam. You'll be left clicking to pick up the boxes, and then you can use R to rotate them to reorient them to fit into your ship properly. Once you're loaded and the ship's all closed up, leave the hangar. From here, you'll need to open your Mobiglass map app. Under the accepted contracts, click Deliver Shipment and Set Destination. This filters the markers on your HUD, giving you only markers relevant to reaching your goal. From here, simply quantum jump as we went over previously. The pathing may take you through several orbital markers, aka OMs, until you make a final jump to the planet's surface. Once you're on approach to the location down on the planet's surface, fly down carefully, managing altitude and speed. If it happens to be dark, use tab to ping to see the terrain and look for landing zone lights. And when you're on your final approach for landing, you can turn your ship's lights on with the L key if necessary. And depending on the location, you're either going to need to land on a landing pad or a hangar. You can land freely on pads, but in order to land at hangars, you'll always have to call the location. Once you've landed, from here you simply deliver the cargo using the local cargo elevator, doing the same steps as last time in reverse. It's important to note here, increasing faction reputation unlocks higher paying missions across all types. As payouts grow, so does the required cargo capacity, often needing larger ships. Beginner ships besides the Cutless Black are mostly limited to small grade hauling. Supply grade and higher are going to require a bigger cargo ship. And for new players, renting is a cost-effective way to try larger ships. In this case, I'd recommend the Argo Raft. It has 192 SU of storage, as well as a ship-mounted tractor beam for easy loading and unloading. It can either be purchased at Lorville's New Deal, or rented from Vantage Rentals at Lorville Spaceport. What I'd recommend at first is just go ahead and rent it. That starts at 70,000 aUEC for one day, scaling up from there. Rented ships function normally but cannot be painted or customized. Using the rental, you should be able to make enough money to buy your own if you so desire. There are other ways to make money within the verse. The main two are going to be mining and salvaging. Mining involves finding and breaking rocks for valuable materials. You can rent a solo mining ship, the Prospector, starting at 73,000 alpha aUEC, at Lorville's Vantage Rentals once more, while Salvage has you buying deeds to broken ships to then strip for components, cargo, and materials. It's highly profitable but requires a specialized ship, in this case the Vulture, which currently isn't available for rental, but is available for purchase starting at 2.6 million alpha aUEC in-game at Lorville's new deal once more. If you have interest in either of these options, I have full guides for mining and salvage available on my channel. The links are in the description. Once you have some money put away, you can buy ships and vehicles from over 200 available in-game. These can be purchased from the dealers at these locations. If you're interested in bounty missions and combat, consider these options as well. These are simply my recommendations. Ultimately though, feel free to choose what you enjoy most. Star Citizen currently features 2 systems, Stanton, which you're currently located in, and Pyro. Pyro is a lawless, high-risk PvP zone, so expect frequent deaths and don't get attached to your loot along the way. To reach Pyro though, you're going to first have to locate the Pyro gateway in your Mobiglass, and then set it as your waypoint. It is important to note here, starter ships have limited fuel. The Cutter or Cutless Black are best here. Either way though, you'll want to land at stations and use your Mobiglass landing app to refuel frequently. Regardless of your ship, I'd highly recommend stopping at the Pyro gateway station before you make the jump, and again at the station on the Pyro side. It's also important to note, once in Pyro, always use hangars to refuel at every opportunity. Avoid pads if at all possible. Once you arrive at the Pyro gateway, remain in nav mode and navigate towards the green jump point detected marker and its cycling white bracket guides. You'll have to enter the jump point from the front, aligning with the UI gates, station structures, and white guide markers. As you pass the final holographic signs and the second to last guide bracket, your HUD will change like you switched operator modes. Take this as your cue to slow down and come to a stop. You'll see the 3 white bars fill around this new HUD, then cycle through displaying entry requirements met, tuning, and tuning complete. You'll need at least 2 green bars here. From here, if the jump point isn't open, an active jump point prompt will appear. Simply left click to send an energy charge to open it. Once the gate fully opens, you'll be automatically pulled in. From here, simply navigate the tunnel avoiding obstacles. Hitting the edges of the tunnel or the obstacles too many times will eject you far from either system, likely stranding a starter ship and forcing a self-destruct. If everything goes to plan, welcome to Pyro. You'll find you arrived in a small UEE-controlled buffer zone, however be ready for pirates as they often lurk at the exit. At this point, immediately head to the Stanton Gateway Station that's right in front of you, request ATC, land, set your respawn, and refuel before going anywhere else. Pyro is much more vast than Stanton, and it's much easier to run out of fuel here. As a result, it's much easier to get stranded in Pyro. The most important thing to note about Pyro is it has multiple factions. Your actions and missions will affect your reputation with them. It's possible to make faction locations hostile, and as a result, they might deny you landing, refueling, or try shooting your ship down with turrets once you enter their range. So you'll need to think more about what you're doing before you do it. Congratulations, Citizen, you made your first steps into the verse. There's so much more to do, missions and activities to find, and rewards to earn. If you found this guide helpful or simply like the content and want to support me in making more videos like this, please consider hitting the like button, leaving a comment below to tell me what you thought, and of course, subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on future content. And as always, thanks for watching and good luck in the verse.